The transfer portal. So you mentioned the name of Cade MAYS, and you would think as a top 3 offensive tackle coming out of high school in 2018, signing with Georgia, that this would be a prime spot for him to take over with all that influx to the NFL from the offensive line. But it is quite the story with his family suing the university over an incident. So fill us in on what's going on with Cade MAYS and what happened there.
Yeah, so Cade MAYS' story is an interesting one, dating back to his recruitment, from Knoxville. His father Kevin played at Tennessee. Believe it might have been on their national championship team, or on a SEC championship team. But, he was, for a long, long time, it really looked like that he would end up with Butch Jones and the Vols. Well, obviously Jones leaves. He ends up at Georgia, decommits from Tennessee, has been very vocal about, the way that Tennessee fans treated him, following his decommitment and then ultimately signing with Georgia. He was not, very well welcomed back to Knoxville. And so, this past season when they played there. So he came to Georgia, played a lot his freshman year. Ended up got a start at left tackle when Andrew Thomas went down, started several games at right guard when Ben Cleveland went down. He ended up suffering a shoulder injury late in the season, but he had, started for over half the year his freshman year. Returns to Georgia, starts all 14 games for the Bulldogs this year, plays all 5 positions on the offensive line. So he was really that utility guy, just could be counted on wherever. With injuries that happen all across the offensive line, they were able to plug him in at center and have him play there. But primarily at right guard, played at left tackle in the Sugar Bowl with, Wilson and Thomas, sitting out of the game before the NFL draft. So Sugar Bowl, it was Cade MAYS at left tackle, Jamari Salyer at right tackle. A lot of people looked at it as, hey, this is your future Georgia tackles. This is the future of the Georgia offensive line, especially with, new offensive line coach Matt Luke in from his previous position at Ole Miss as the head coach there. Georgia moved quickly to hire him, and, he was able to get a lot of work in with the offensive linemen, and was a huge, huge component in Georgia winning that Sugar Bowl the way that they did. But back to MAYS, he announces his transfer. He announces that he's in the transfer portal just moments, right around the same time that Jake Fromm announces his decision to leave early for the NFL. MAYS, it really comes as a surprise to me. That's one that I think a lot of people, like I said, looked at him and said he's going to be, shoe-in starter next year, at one of the tackle positions, could play guard, with that versatility. He's not really a true center, but, with that versatility that he was a shoe-in, to be on the offensive line for next year. Announces his transfer to Tennessee. He's already enrolled there, taking classes. And so, with the lawsuit coming out, day later, that being dug up, and, him now being represented by Tom Mars, the same lawyer that represented Tate Martell and Justin Fields, most notably. Now it comes down to, is he going to be able to get eligibility to play in that first season at Tennessee? But he is back home in Knoxville with his family, with his brother now there. And, very, very interesting story there, considering the just oddity of that story. The fact that it was a incident that happened in 2017 on MAYS' recruiting visit. The fact that his father, loses part of his finger, had to go to the hospital, that, just so many different odd things about that, there's a lot of questions being raised about, was this something that led to his transfer, or is coming out as a result of his transfer? So I don't really know the answers there. I think the only people that know would be the MAYS family, Cade and, his father, Kevin, and, brother Cooper. But that's certainly one of the more interesting stories I've I've come across in this Georgia football beat.
Absolutely. We're not going to dive into the whole situation there, but Google that just situation. Just put in Cade Mays or Kevin Mays, and you will see the situation of the lawsuit involving the Mays family against the University of Georgia, and just the odd incident that we don't know if that was directly tied to Cade Mays' decision, but it certainly is coming out now. Having happened in 2017, it would seem odd to me that Cade Mays put in all the work and the effort and put himself in prime position to be a starter, full-time starter there at Georgia here in 2020. And then the situation comes out about what happens in 2017, and that affected his decision. But obviously,
not to mention a potential 2021 NFL draft pick. I mean, having started for, a top 10, top 5 program in the country for, 2 years, would have surely been 3 years. You really could look at him, depending on how his 2020 season, went at Georgia. You really could have, and what position he played, you could have looked at him as a, highly rated first round, second round type guy in the 2021 NFL draft. Now you've got the question of, is he going to be able to play this coming season in Knoxville? Is he going to sit out this, that season? If he is able to play, does he leave after his junior year? Is he still highly as rated? If he doesn't play, is he going to leave, coming off of a full season of rest and 2 seasons of college work? Or, just a lot of questions to be answered about that situation. Most notably his eligibility, and then ultimately, come next season, look at his status for the NFL draft.
Quality information and insight as always from Palmer Toms from Dogs 247 Sports. So we encourage you to head on over there and check out Palmer's work on 247 Sports. We all know the brand, and we know that it's the very best in college sports. Palmer, we appreciate you stopping by. Of course, we'll have you back anytime, but certainly we're probably about 2+ months away from spring practice, and certainly want to get everyone set on positional previews for the Dogs once we get to that point.